Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. So, on today's episode, I'm going to be taking you through my picks for the best budget commanders of 2024. As a budget player, I am always on the lookout for new and exciting commanders that not only are budget themselves, but really benefit from a budget build around them. Let's jump into them. First off, we've got Honest Rutstein. What are you buying? Anyone else know? Kind of like the vibes. At least the original one was more so from the vibes of Resident Evil 4. Anyone? No? What are you selling? Okay, let's keep going. 3/2 Human Warlock for 3 mana in Golgari. Enters the battlefield. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Now, this is an uncommon commander, and uncommon commanders have a safe place in my heart where it's just, oh, you know what, uncommon commander, please be good, please be good. And yes, this one does pay off in that aspect. This is one where, okay, the ETB, that's nice, but what really matters is, hey, cost reduction on anything in Magic is incredibly good, especially when it's, well, creature spells, and you can go to specific creature spells that can make this very good, and even busted once you get things set up properly. So yeah, I mean, what I would do potentially building around this one is utilizing fantastic budget cards like Mirror Moon Vessel. A very simple 1/1 mirror for a single mana, and it is a creature, also an artifact of course, and when it's put in grave from play, you add a colors to your mana pool. So essentially, this is a free spell for this deck, utilizing artifact creatures that, hey, have a generic mana cost of 1. Yeah, they're going to be free. Thank you to your commander. So being able to just play free creatures can lead to some really explosive plays and some really cool turns, especially when something like this that has a great death trigger. Think about some ETBs too, but yeah, this is a great death trigger. And of course, you can use and abuse those with something like Ava Saraseer. Now, this one you don't get out into play for free. That's okay. A 1/1 Vampire Wizard for a single black mana. I think you can afford that single mana. You're in a, green deck. You can ramp too. Anyways, sacrifice a creature, scry 1. So some free value out of this one by sacrificing creatures to scry 1. Of course, old Rutstein's ETB can help get your things back, but we'll talk about some more effective ways to do that since, we're not in, like, the normal, like, blink colors. That being said, when it comes to value, Moldervine Reclamation. Chamber for 5 mana in Golgari. Whenever a creature control dies, you gain 1 life and draw a card. So play your little low-to-the-ground artifact creatures, sacrifice them for value, dig down into your deck, maybe utilize some cards that maybe get your creatures from your graveyard back on top of your library to then, redraw into them. There's like 4 or 5 that do the exact same thing, essentially, that cost either 2 or 3 mana. That being said, you can also just bring them right back to your hand with Empty the Catacomb, Sorcerer for 4 mana in black. Each player returns all creature cards from their graveyard to their hand. There's also other ones like, Creeping Renaissance, etc., to bring those creatures back out of your graveyard to your hand. Replay them again for free with your incredibly budget-friendly commander with these incredibly budget-friendly cards. Sacrifice them for more value, and of course, maybe have some, draining effects, etc., like Blood Artist adjacent if you're not willing to go for the budget on those. But that being said, yeah, Honest Rutstein is one that, again, just inherently it being an uncommon commander, like outside of like Tatiova, which I think everyone knows is pretty busted, it being an uncommon commander, players out there, they see that at the table, like, oh, don't take that seriously, it's not going to do much. And then all of a sudden, you got this unstoppable engine running on a budget. I love you, I said old Rutstein, it's the old one. Honest Rutstein. What are you buying? I'm buying you. Moving on, though, to Coram the Undertaker, another commander that deals with a graveyard, but in a different way. A 0/5 Human Warrior for 4 mana in Jund. It gets +X/+0, where X is the greatest power among creatures in all graveyard. That counts your opponents as well. So, yeah, if your opponents have a giant creature in the graveyard, you say thank you, and then you destroy them with your commander that has their power. On top of that, whenever this attacks, each player mills a card, and of course, during each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a spell from among cards in graveyards that are put there from libraries this turn. So very simple, very effective. Basically, yeah, you can utilize things out of your opponent's graveyards, which is lovely, including lands. So yeah, hit your land drops. But the important thing about this one, and what I would build around it, again, being a budget-friendly commander and a budget-friendly strategy, is Well, just utilize some Entomb effects, and there are plenty of budget ones out there like Vile Entomber to go get the exact creature that you need to make your commander into an unstoppable force very quickly and very effectively. Vile Entomber is a great one. 2/2 Zombie Warlock with Death Touch for 4 mana in black. When this creature enters, search life for a card, put it right in your graveyard, then shuffle. Again, basically any kind of Entomb effect. There's other ones out there, or just like massive mill effects can help you, of course, too. Or yeah, taking your opponent's best creatures out with, board wipes, sacrifice effects, etc. That being said, yeah, the most effective one is going to be a tutor like this, because you can go and grab something like, Beast of Burden, a star artifact creature for 6 mana, power and toughness, each of the creatures in play. That counts your opponent's creatures as well, and of course, in a format like Commander, hey, you know what? The more creatures that are out there, the better, including your opponent's creatures. So this could very easily be a, 10 plus power creature. Or, even more than that later in the game, too. Or, you could just go Yargold Multani, which, yes, is less than $1 as well. At least this version of it is. In 1816, that says literally nothing else. It has nothing else but flavor text on it. This is 18 power for your commander, putting it just 3 points away in power from actually getting there. And, of course, you can very easily get to a one-shot KO with this commander. Super simple, super effective. A card like Bulk Up can do it. Instant for 2 mana in red. I love this card from this year. Double target creature's power until end of turn. You can flash it back as well. Of course, there's other ways to double things up, like Berserker's Onslaught. Attacking creatures control have double strike. So yeah, protects your commander in combat, as well as doubling up on that damage. Damage doublers can help too, of course, as well. You got power doubling, you've got damage doubling, you've got plenty of ways to make your commander into a one-shot KO that you maybe even just fling at your opponents, because they're like, I've got my defenses up and I'm ready to go, and you're like, let's fling my commander that's got 40 power at you, and you're gone. Sacrifice a creature, deals damage, either sacrifice creature's power to any target. Yeah, there's ways to get around that as well. But yes, Coram the Undertaker is a very exciting one that goes about things in an interesting way, lets you utilize off-the-wall kind of janky cards, essentially. And yeah, when you're doing that, those cards tend to be a bit cheaper, and you can actually really take advantage of those and use a unique strategy that can actually be pretty quick, pretty effective, and really fun. Next up, Elenda, Saint of Dusk. This one is super spicy. A 4/4 Vampire Knight with lifelink and hexproof from instance. I tried to actually just put like lifeproof. I try to combine those right there. Anyways, for 4 mana and Orzhov, as long as your life total is greater than your starting life total. ++1 has Menace. Gets initial +5/+5 if your life total is at least 10 greater than your starting life total. So Menace, again, is a good way to try to get your commander through, or at least force a double block to take some creatures out. Lifelink is lovely to gain even more life, and of course, hexproof from instance. That's just a nice way to protect it from a good amount of things out there. Speaking of instance, though, Congregate. Yeah, we've got some very easy ways to gain a ton of life out of nowhere, because we're playing Commander again. Take advantage of the board. Target player gains 2 life for each creature on the battlefield. Instant speed for 4 mana in white. Yeah, basically the 7-cent card is just I swung with my commander. You didn't block because my commander only has 4 power or whatnot. And you're like, okay, yeah, whatever, yeah, oh, cool, yeah, I'll just take 4. And you're like, okay, by the way, now it's 10, or even more potentially if you've got other effects. Or yeah, again, your opponent's block in a certain way that is very bad for them. But yeah, this is a great way to gain an absurd amount of life very quickly to put you up well above that, 10 or greater. Also take advantage of weird old cards like Spirit Link. It's an aura that costs a single white mana. You enchant a creature. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage, you gain that much life. This is not the same thing as Lifelink, and therefore it stacks with Lifelink. Both of them will trigger. You'll get the Lifelink gain from your commander, as well as the gain from Spirit Link. And notably, this actually works with other kinds of damage as well. Like if you have a commander that can ping things, that would count too. Not the case here. I'm just trying to say that just in case you need to be aware of that. That being said, yeah, being able to double up on that life gain from your commander for a single mana, that can be huge. Speaking of doubling, Revival. Okay, not Revival. Revenge! There we go. Sorcerer for 6 mana, and Orzhov, double your life total. Target opponent loses half their life rounded up. A nice way to take someone down while doubling yourself up. Again, a way to just supercharge your life total to an absurd amount to make your commander, again, into a 10/10 life-linking, hexproof from instance, menacing commander. That, of course, then you can utilize cards like Duelist Heritage to make it hit for even more, gain even more life with that lifelink and protect in combat too. Enchant for 3 mana in white. Whenever one or more creatures attack, you may have target attacking creature gain double strike until end of turn. Again, this is just worth it just for your commander, but also you can use this to politic on your opponent's turns as well. Hey, who are you going to attack with that creature there? If you attack that other player over there, I'll give it double strike. Yeah? Okay. But yeah, being able to give your commander double strike from an enchantment that stays in play, and it's one of the hardiest things out there when it comes to sticking around a type of permanent. Yes, it is a great way to do so. Make your commander hit even harder. And of course, it's very simple to make your commander into a one-shot KO in combination with double strike. Always watching. Any kind of other Anthem effect or any little mini pump effect will get you there then. Champ for 3 mana in white, non-token creature control +1 and vigilance. So a way to keep your commander back for defense as well. But yeah, also that extra little power, getting your commander to 11 power means that double strike will hit for 22. And your commander is, well, a giant life gain engine for you that just takes out opponents and is hard to block too and hard to take out that Hexproof from Instance. Elenda, Saint of Dusk, is a Voltron adjacent, like life gain kind of a commander that goes about things in a very interesting way, and you can utilize some really cool cards to make the most out of this one that are really budget friendly. Next up, Akul the Unrepentant. Now, this might be one that surprises players because, yeah, it is a very budget-friendly commander itself, being 19 cents, but you might be thinking, like, oh, with what this does, like, don't you need a really high budget? No, you do not. 5/5 Scorpion, Dragon Rogue for 4 mana, and Rakdos Flample. Sacrifice 3 other creatures. You may put a creature card from your hand on the battlefield. Activate only a sorcery only once each turn. Yeah, that is very simple, very effective, very amazing. It is super easy to get a lot of creatures out that you want to sacrifice, especially since this does not say non-token creatures. That is huge. You can sacrifice 3, non-token creatures if you want, or token creatures, or a combination of both, whatever you want, and all of a sudden just cheat out a massive creature super early in the game. When it comes to creature fodder, yeah, you don't have like Bitter Blossom because that's an expensive card when it comes to a budget, but Dreadhorde Invasion, incredibly budget friendly and does basically the exact same thing for this commander. Champ for 2 mana, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and amass 1, meaning you make a zombie army if you don't have one. If you do have one, you get an extra counter on it, and ignore the whole zombie attacks. Cool, whatever, that's fine. What happens with this, though, again, is this is every single turn of your turns, you get a creature token if you keep sacrificing those. If you don't have a zombie army, you get a new one. If you don't have a zombie army, you get a new one the next turn. So basically, this is a Bitter Blossom for you. Again, 1 life for 1 creature token is an amazing deal for this low-to-the-ground enchantment. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, next turn, I'll get some more creatures out. I'll sacrifice those, including my zombie army, and I'll cheat something massive into play. We also, of course, have other very low-to-the-ground, very budget-friendly creature token creators like Weaponcraft Enthusiast, 0/1 Aetherborn Artificer for 3 mana, Fabricate 2. Sure, you can get counters on it, but okay, then you've got a 2/3 for 3 mana. Woo! No, make those servos. 3 mana, 3 creatures. What's not to love about that? This is basically a, hey, I get all the resources I need to cheat something massive into play, which could be something like, oh, I don't know, Baleful Force, which is, 8 mana. It costs quite a bit to get out, but again, for you get this out super early. If you ramp early enough, it's like, turn 4, cool, all right, I'm done. 7/7 elemental, even if you don't ramp. I mean, maybe you could even get out earlier than that. Turn 3, cool. 8 mana, essentially, but again, for free by sacrificing 3 creatures. At the beginning of each upkeep, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Again, life is a resource in Commander. You're gonna gain it back. It's fine. Don't worry about it. That being said, what your opponents don't have to worry about is the amount of card advantage you get out of this, because again, this is every single upkeep, not just your own. So yeah, each trip around the table, you are drawing 4 cards, which is absurd. Magmatic Force, another great one to cheat and to play as well. 7/7 elemental for 8 mana itself. At the beginning of each upkeep, 3 damage to any target. Basically, free lightning bolt on every single upkeep, not just your own. So yeah, take out medium-sized to small creatures, or take out some planeswalkers or your opponent's faces, whatever you need to do. How about Ulamog's Crusher, though? An 8/8 Eldrazi, very budget-friendly, just 14 cents for 8 mana. But again, basically free in this deck, right? Annihilator 2, attacks each combat fable. Oh no, I've got to attack with my 8/8 with Annihilator 2. Literally, if you get this out early enough, you're just going to take an opponent out by swinging once, swinging twice, and all of a sudden, oh, my lands are gone. Yeah, sorry about that. This budget-friendly commander, again, might not seem budget-friendly to some. They're like, well, I need $40 for Ulamog, $50 for Emrakul. No. There are plenty of great budget-friendly, really heavy-hitting creatures out there that you're going to love to cheat and to play with. Again, a lot of creature fodder that is also budget-friendly. Next up, Duskana, the Rage Mother. Always reminds me of Cascada. Is that band right there? Cascada. I still hear your voice. No, okay. Anyone else grew up in the 90s? Okay. 5/5 bear for 5 mana in Naya. Enters the battlefield. Draw a card for each creature controlled. Base power and toughness 2/2. Whenever creature controlled base power and toughness 2/2 attacks, it gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Now, this is a commander where you are super hyper focused. You're saying, okay, I'm going to build a bunch of 2/2s in here, and I'm going to get a lot of value out of it. Now, does that kind of like limit the upper threshold of the commander? Sure, but also there are a lot of great creatures out there that are 2/2s, and also maybe some ones that might also like to use and abuse ETBs because, hey, this is not a cast trigger requirement ETB. Again, enters the battlefield, you draw a card for every one of those creatures. So if you can blink it, which you've got access to plenty of great ones, especially since you're in white, cool. All of a sudden you're like, okay, spend 1 mana to blink this, and I draw 10 cards. Yay! And you can do it again, and again, and again. Whenever a creature controlled base power and toughness 2/2 attacks, again, +3/+3 until end of turn. A great pump effect for your tiny team. And of course, we've got other ways to pump as well, because keep in mind, again, it's referencing base power and toughness. It doesn't care if there's other modifications like anthems or like a pump effect like this. The creature still have base power and toughness 2/2. So you can buy some great ones like Torian Mauler. A 2/2 shapeshifter or changeling for 3 mana in red. Again, base power and toughness 2/2. Does not matter what modifies it. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a counter on Torian Mauler. Again, this thing can grow to absurd proportions and also gets pumped by your commander as well. Dualcaster Mage, another great ETB for you. A 2/2 human wizard with flash for 3 mana in red. Enters the battlefield, copy target, insert short spell, choose targets with a copy. This can be a big blowout spell for you that you were copying, but also, again, it's a 2/2. Keep that in mind. Solemn Simulacrum, Sad Robot, a 2/2 golem for 4 mana. Enters the battlefield. You may search life for a basic landing card, put the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. When it dies, you may draw a card. So yeah, if it's leaving, or if it's, I guess leaving in death or leaving from blinking, it's going to give you value either way. Karmic Guide, another great ETB for you to use and abuse. A 2/2 flying protection from Black Angel Spirit for 5 mana in white Echo as well. That being said, enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your grave to the battlefield. So cheat something into play, potentially something massive like a Hornet Queen. Again, another great ETB. 2/2 insect flying death touch for 7 mana in total in green. Enters the battlefield, create 4/1/1 green insect creature with flying and death touch. So a lot of value to be had there. You can cloud shift your commander. Again, I mentioned earlier, just a 1 mana, simple 1 mana spell. Blink your commander, and all of a sudden, how many 2/2s you have in play? Okay, cool. Draw that many. Or how about Semester's End? Exile any number of creatures you control, and planeswalkers too. Basically, the end step they come back. Cool, and they get additional counters on that they're creatures. Great, cool. Again, does not actually change the base power and toughness, so it's fine for this deck. And all of a sudden, this is a great way to just blink your entire board, get all those ETBs, and a lot of value to be had. How about things like Dictative Heliod as well? Again, because you can still utilize, those things that do modify your creature's power and toughness. As long as they've got base power and toughness 2/2, that's all that matters. Pump them absolutely with some great anthems. Flash this in, Dictative Heliod, creatures control +2/+2. A great combat trick for you as well. So yeah, you're swinging with some 2/2s. They get pumped by your commander. They're 5/5s, and your opponents might think that they're okay. And all of a sudden, you flash this in, another 7/7. So their blocks are probably not all that good. Duskana the Rage Mother, a lot of fun. Again, one that is kind of specific in what it wants to do, but there's a lot of great 2/2s out there that are budget friendly for you to utilize and dominate your opponents with. Moving on to another 2/2 that's all about 2/2s, Kudo, King Among Bears, also a bear. A 2/2 bear for 2 mana in Selesnya. Other creatures have base power and toughness 2/2 and are bears this or other types. This is a commander that levels the playing field. It's also one that can make players a bit salty, so be careful the kind of a build you build, but when it comes to this budget build, we're not going like hate bears. We're not doing like all the hate bears in a deck and or stacks or, like Elish Norn. Because, Elish Norn's not budget anyways. And that's mean! Okay, Secure the Waste, though. Not that mean. Instant for X and a white. Create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. Now, warrior creature tokens, I should say. But basically, again, with our commander making all creatures 2/2 bears, including our opponent's creatures, yes. Now, all of a sudden, this spell is, hey, just pay 1 mana for a 2/2 into that X every single one of those manas that you're spending, essentially. If you pay 7 in there, congratulations, you've got now, instead of 7 power, 14 power across 7 bodies, and they're going to be just as big as your opponent's creatures as well. Again, even if they have like a 10/10 Eldrazi, it's down to a 2/2 Eldrazi bear. Increasing Devotion, again, 5 mana, make 5 1/1s, you flash it back, you make 10 of those instead. Again, even at just 5, you're making 5 2/2s, that's 10 power in total for 5 mana, lovely. at 10 mana, or sorry, say 9 mana with the flashback. That is 10 of those 2/2s. That's 20 power across 10 bodies. You're going to be dominating the game. Rabble Rousing, another great way to take advantage of your tiny little creatures. Hideaway 5, that's nice. Whenever you attack with one or more creatures, create that many 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. Then if you control 10 or more creatures, you may play the exile card with paying its mana cost. Basically, double up your army on a swing, which is absurd. And, yeah, instead of them being 1/1s, which is already nice, now they're all 2/2s, which again is just as big as your opponent's creatures, if not bigger. You can, of course, take advantage of the fact that we're on an even playing field, right? All the creatures are even. They're all 2/2s. Well, now my creatures have first strike with Knighthood. Again, a very janky, weird card, but it works great with this commander. Enchant for 3 mana in white. Creature control first strike. Great, cool. Is this all that good in other decks? Probably not for the most part. With this one, it's like, okay, every single creature has the exact same power and toughness. All of a sudden, yeah, I have a massive advantage now because my creatures can block your creatures and take them out without being taken out themselves, and your creatures can't block my creatures and survive and take mine out without double blocking, and then you still lose one of your creatures as well. So yeah, it makes things really inefficient for your opponents. Collect a Blessing, of course, other great anthems can really help you out as well. Creature control at +3/+3. Yeah, now all your creatures are 5/5s instead of 2/2s, and your opponent's creatures are 2/2s, so they've got to like triple block, lose 2 of their creatures, and then they can take out one of your creatures, which is probably just a 1/1 warrior to start off with. So yeah, you're going to be winning with that. Again, Kudo King Among Bears can be built on a really high, super intense budget with a lot of, like, you know, hate bear type cards. Let's just simplify it. Utilize a lot of ways to get a lot of tokens out very effectively. You know, some anthems as well, some other kind of cards, like, you know, the first strike card too, and just say, you know what? Even playing field, except I'm tilting the scales in my favor. Next up, do you like math? Cool. Zimone all questioning a 1/1 human wizard for 3 mana in Simic. At the beginning of your end step of a land into the battlefield you control this turn, and you control a prime number of lands. Create Primo the Indivisible, a legendary 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token, then put that many counters on it. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, and 31. And there's more than that, but wizards stop there, are prime numbers. So essentially, yeah, this is a very simple, straightforward commander, and it's a, hey, you know what you want to do? Lands. Lands are cool, and by using lands, you get a giant creature. That is legendary, yes, but you know what? That's okay. If you play another land and you make a bigger version of it, that is completely fine. So, yeah, even a simple card like Evolving Wilds can be incredibly impactful because you get to a certain number of Evolving Wilds, you sacrifice it, it goes away, then you get another one. So essentially, again, if you get to a prime number with this by playing it and by sacrificing it, all of a sudden you can get 2 of those token copies of it. Yeah, 1 gets sacrificed, right, essentially. But again, if you've got any kind of ETBs that you can use and use, like, hey, creature comes into play, draw cards equal to its power, etc., etc., etc. Not equal to its power, but draw cards, you know, draw a card of its power is 3 or greater, essentially, those kinds of cards. Rampant Growth. Again, any kind of ramp spells obviously help you get to your goal, which is get more and more and more lands into play to get to the higher prime numbers. You can, of course, adjust the amount of lands that you have in play as well. Once you get to a certain point, you're like, I really don't have like a land drop this turn, and I'm at a prime number, so I'll use Maloka the Clouded Mirror. A 2/4 Moonfolk Wizard flying for 5 mana. Pay 1, return a land you control back to its owner's hand. Create a 1/1 blue illusion creature shown with flying. Bouncing a land back to your hand is huge, and being able to be like, okay, I'm at 13. All right, now I'm at 12. Now I play that land again. I'm back to 13. If I didn't have my fractal buddy, now I do again. And I also get an illusion, and I can also use and abuse other landfall triggers as well. Also, of course, make sure you take advantage of your creature's power. Primo's power, Fungal Sprouting, Sorcerer 4 mana in green. Put X1 on green, 7 creature tokens in the battlefield, or X Grace power among creatures you control. Going super wide, super quickly with this can be quite fun. Big Horner Rancher, a 2/5 human ranger with vigilance for 5 mana in green. Tap that amount of green equal to Grace power among creatures you control. So yeah, again, getting Primo in play, growing that power throughout the game by getting bigger and bigger versions out of there means you get more and more mana out of this. And yeah, when it comes to value, Return the Wild Speaker, oh my goodness. Instant for 5 mana, choose 1. You're going to choose the first one, most likely. Draw cards equal to Grace power among non-human creatures you control. You can also pup non-human creatures +3/+3, but yeah. Drawing cards, being like, oh yeah, cool, I've got, again, 11, 13, whatever it is, lands in play. 5 mana, I'm drawing that instant speed. Lovely. Prime Secret Duskana, another way to take advantage of that. ETB with X counters on it, where X the greatest power amount of the creatures you control. Enters the battlefield, draw cards equal to its power. So it's that +1 because it's already a 1/1 to start. So yeah, make another massive threat and draw an absurd amount of cards with this, thanks to your amazing giant creature. Zimone All Questioning, again, is very simple, very straightforward, and a really fun commander to play. Yeah, a great commander for a budget that can utilize a lot of really cool budget cards. And finally, Selvala, Eager Trailblazer, a really cool elf scout for 4/5, vigilant for 4 mana in Selesnya. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token with tap. Target you control gets +1/0 till after turn. Activate only as a sorcery. On top of that, though, tap, choose a color, add 1 mana of that color for each different power among creatures you control. Basically, go wide and go tall in mana. Get a lot of creatures in play that, well, can help you tap to adjust power. Maybe have some other ways to adjust power we'll talk about here in a little bit. And then tap this for an absurd amount of mana to play more things that adjust more power and do more crazy things. I mean, the first card that comes to mind with this one is like a white mane lion type effect. A 2/2 cat with flash for 2 mana in white. Enters the battlefield, return a creature control back to its owner's hand, which of course can include, well, this. If you didn't know that, yeah, you can actually use this to bounce itself back to your hand. You just play it, use the ETB, bounce it, cast it again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Every single time, because you are casting those creature spells, making those mercenaries to flood the board, going super wide, and again, at a certain point, be able to tap them to pump a creature, or multiple creatures, of course. Also, Wirewood Symbiote, a 1/1 insect for a single green mana that has a kind of downside, which is actually a massive upside as well. Return an elf you control back to its owner's hand, and we will have some elves to utilize, including actually if you want to bounce your commander back to your hand, you can as a way to save it, so keep that in mind. Untap target creature, though, activate only once each turn. So being able to bounce back another elf, essentially, allows us to then replay that elf and then get our commander's trigger, essentially, to make another mercenary, while also untapping our commander, which, again, at a certain point can tap for an absurd amount of mana, and then doing that again. Or how about Seeker of Skybreak, another great elf to, basically bounce back to her hand, especially if we have a haste effect as well, that could be very helpful. A 2/1 elf for 2 mana in green, tap, untap target creature. Yeah, utilizing a lot of untapped creatures effects can be very good. Again, once we're set up properly, once we have the mana engine going, this can get pretty absurd. And speaking of a mana engine, if you want to go infinite, you can do so on a budget with Sword of the Parents. An equipment for 4 mana, it costs 3 to equip, and its most important thing is not the first 2 sentences, but the next one. Pay 3, may tap or untap to quick creature. Obviously caring about untapping it again and again and again. If our commander can tap for 4 mana, which is incredibly easy to get to, just having 4 or more creatures with different powers, well, all of a sudden, we can tap our commander an infinite number of times, generate infinite mana, and win from there. If that's not your thing, though, that is completely fine. Plenty of other things that you can do that are very powerful with this commander. Starlight Spectacular is a very strange card that can help you out a lot with this commander. An enchantment for 4 mana in white. Beginning of combat on your turn, choose creatures you control 1 at a time until each creature you control has been chosen. Each of those creatures get +1 till end of turn for each creature chosen before it. So basically, this is a guaranteed way to, well, pump your army a ton, but also to pump them to different power levels if they all, like your mercenaries, essentially start at the exact same power level. So yeah, basically just go there and say, you know what? Here we go. Pump everything an absurd amount and different numbers, and all of a sudden my commander can tap for an absurd amount and then tap for an absurd amount of mana and then decimate my opponent. So again, a commander that can go wide and go big in mana as well, utilizing a lot of really cool and undervalued cards. Selvala, Eager Trailblazer, another great budget commander from this year. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. As always, comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.